Shulodd and hello, Zel Amals. I am Matthew Carauddo, author and developer of Diamond Dragons, and today we chat with varying artists, our diamonds in the rough. Hey guys, so we're here with my diamond in the rough today, Adam Sartain. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Of course, of course. So Adam, tell us about yourself and your multifaceted work as an artist.
Oh boy, where do I start?
Wherever you
Um,
like.
it all started when I was very young. It really did, actually. I like to think I was born a ham. Like, I was born a performer. I did little talent shows when I was in elementary school, where I played an old man. I guess I've been doing voices for that long, since forever as well, and I just loved performing. And in high school, I was in drama club for a bit, and then in college, I decided to become a music major of all things. So I have a degree in tuba, and after college, I started really getting into community theater, and I did a lot. I did for about 10 years or so. I was in a few movies, independent films here and there, one of which, the one that was my favorite, never saw the light of day.
It happens.
Yeah, but it was fun. Um, and one of which won some awards. So that was cool in like festivals and stuff.
Awesome. And what was that one?
That was called Charlie's Closet.
Charlie's Closet. Very cool.
Yes, it was kind of a reverse Monsters Inc.,
Oh,
where in Monsters Inc. the child ends up in the monster world, whereas this is a live action where the monster ends up in the child's world. Like he
ah.
ends up in the girl's closet and ends up becoming friends with her rather than scaring her. And I played the father saying, "What were you doing in my daughter's closet?" Literally.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it was fun, and it was a musical, so I got to sing a bit. Um, and then from there, I've yeah, like I said, I've always wanted to do voices. I've always wanted to do voiceover. So I got into it wherever I could. In 2016, I moved to Los Angeles to pursue acting full time.
I just realized that's about the same time that I moved there.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I guess we didn't know that about each other. For the viewers right now, Adam and I actually are fairly good friends. We met many years ago, so we kind of know a decent amount about one another. And as another like side note, he has been helping me by being the voiceovers for several of the dragons in Diamond Dragons, and you can find out more about that on the pre-visualization videos that
Yes.
on this channel, so you can go hear him voicing characters such as Bardiche is the bard,
Or
the
Bard. Yeah.
musician, and there's other
Music
characters
is
he's
magic.
yeah, there's other characters that he's voiced, but they're not on the pre-visualization because some
Right.
of those characters are not either present in those. But either way, Adam is a man of many talents. Like he said, he plays the tuba, he sings, and he does a slew, a literal horde, a throng of voice.
I think my last count was around 78, 79.
Wow,
Yeah. My goal
that's
is to get to 100,
wow, that is a
so I can be
lot.
known as the man of 100 voices.
That's a great idea. I like
You
that.
know?
You should make a video series out of that, right, Adam? I think that would go over well. And I can't even imagine having a distinction between so many. Like for me, I feel like I could only do maybe 10 or 15 if I was lucky. But to develop that many, that's why I think your work is so awesome, and it's a lot of fun to hear you do the work. And really, even when I first met you and then later had you audition for it, you sent all this work and I could see your website. So
The funny thing is, the website, the resume, my reels, all were done before I set foot in Los Angeles, because I wanted to be sure. I knew that, it's a rough business, and you got to be prepared. So and I think my work paid off too, because 2 months within setting foot in I got here in August, late August, like end of August 2016. And by October I had a commercial agent, booked my first commercial in November, which was the, I want to say, was it the second or third audition I went on?
Beautiful. That's awesome.
And I booked it. Yeah.
That's really awesome too. Like that's a good what would you say too? Like that's not only good luck, but that's good preparation, meeting all the right conditions with all the, you know, the set factors. Like it's great that there was people out there who realized, hey, this guy's really talented and he's, you know, he's got discipline and consistency and he does the work. Like, let's get him involved.
And my body type in LA is a niche body type.
Really?
There's not a lot of fat white guys in LA.
I wouldn't say it that way, but I would have never, that would have never occurred to me. But you know, if you know this thing, like that's what my mind would have never gone there. That's interesting.
Yeah. And that's, you know, like for example, that first commercial I booked was for Cupid, like a Cupid in a eHarmony video, eHarmony commercial.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. And it's you know, I had the right body type for it. I wowed the casting director and they went, you know, the rest is history.
Well, that's awesome. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about you know, your musical work, like on the tuba. Like how did you get involved in that, and then what how has that developed for you over the years? And like, you know, tell us about your kind of passion for it, because right, you have to. There's a lot of discipline and consistency to learning a proper musical instrument. So obviously, that's something that would take up many time slices.
Yeah, it's an interesting story actually. In junior high, I started on baritone horn, which is baritone euphonium. I call it a baby tuba. And I would have stayed on it had it not been for my high school band director, who told me, not asked me, but told me, you're playing tuba now. Because in high school marching band, coming into my sophomore year, all the sousaphone players in the marching band either dropped out or quit. Well, not dropped, like they graduated out or quit. And so I was the only sousaphone player my sophomore and junior years. And I stuck with it. And coming into college, I actually came in as a genetics major.
Wow.
Found out that wasn't working out very well after flunking my chemistry and math class.
Oh, no.
My spring semester, and decided again, forced by the university, to change my major. They literally sent me a letter: you are kicked out of the university, and in fine print, if you want to contest this, come to not admissions office, but like counseling office or whatever. So I went, and they were like, oh, we just wanted you to come in, you're going to need to change your major.
You're like, and so you had to use these scare tactics to do
I was, you know, I hate to, I don't, you know, it's taboo to say, but I was at that time considering suicide, because it's like, I'm kicked out of the university, my future is gone. Yeah. What am I going to do? And then I saw the little fine print. I was like, well, I'm fighting this with everything I've got. Yeah. And then they go in, and it was just
really quick. I'm glad you brought that up. And it's like, that's something that I feel is important, is that it's important for people to be honest about their feelings and their thoughts, and like how, you know, everybody in the world, especially with social media, everything's like, oh, it's all got to be happy-go-lucky. And it's like, I think we all have places in our life when there, as they even say in the hero's journeys and just storytelling, it's the dark night of the soul, and they're very real things. I think a lot of people, when they see films and theater and maybe read stories or books or whatever, they look at it like, oh, you know, this is overly dramatic, and they always come back from it. I'm like, well, there are some times in real life that not only does this happen, but people don't come back from these things. Yeah. And so it's important that we recognize them, understand that there is ways to endure, and some of the most important ways to endure is when we have friendships and we have a support team and structure around us, and
Absolutely.
that we also have some deep inner strength inside. So I just want to say I'm glad you're still here, Adam. I know that feeling. I've been there myself,
Yeah.
and it would have I would have not known you. So I'm glad you're still here.
And that's also before I came to know a higher power as well. I think
That's
that also helps. It
Yeah.
definitely helps.
Very good.
Because I mean, those thoughts have creeped in since then, but I've shot them down immediately.
That's the thing. You learn how there's so many things in life that will hit you hard, but if you have enough inner strength and things to rely on that are independent of the temporal and
Yeah.
terrestrial world, I guess if you would say, then it's hard for those things to drag you down. I mean, there are some really hard things in life, some things that are not easily recovered from. You know, people's houses burned down. I don't mind telling you that literally I want to say it was yesterday or the day before, because everything's been an onslaught.
This year alone, yeah.
Yeah, a friend of mine passed away from COVID-19,
Ugh.
and I had met him twice in my life. You would have liked him. He was a lot like you, very jovial and very great of spirit, and he was a cosplayer and everything. But it's very hard. Like you know, some people's struggles you can't you can't you can't defeat those struggles sometimes. So you know, we do our best. That's all we can do.
Yeah. Yeah, it goes back to that whole two wolves thing. You know that parable of the two wolves.
Tell me, because I'm not sure I understand.
It's an old, I believe it's an old Native American proverb of there are two wolves inside of us. One is light, one is dark.
All right, kind of like
Yeah.
yin yang, etc.
Yeah. And they're in a constant battle within us. And the one that wins is the one that you feed.
Fair.
The
Hashtag fair, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Not to mention the fact that like that relates to, you know, as you already know, and we were discussing the whole, you know, Diamond Dragons
Yep.
theme, which is it's the light and the darkness, and
Yeah.
the yin yang is basically a meaningful symbol to me, where there is dark in the light a little, and there is light in the dark a little, and they kind of balance one another out. And without that kind of balance, there wouldn't be life anyways. And it's present in everything that we know, the sun, and when it's nighttime and black and dark, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People who are seem purely good and people who seem purely evil. And if you don't,
excuse me, sorry.
If you don't know one, how can you know the other? So, like, you know, for example, if the whole world was always sunshine and rainbows, you wouldn't appreciate it all that much now, would you? Because you'd have nothing to compare it to. Just as if you only knew darkness all the time, what would light mean to you? Very little. You wouldn't know what it is. So tell me more about your experiences with college then.
Yeah, so I got through that. I changed my major to music, and since tuba was my instrument, I became, I actually considered, because at that moment, the music department was transitioning into a track program. Prior to, like, if I had come in as a music major as a freshman, it would have been just straight music. But coming in as a sophomore that year, I could choose between theory composition, history, or performance. And I nearly chose theory and composition because I liked composing, but it was a lot of work. And I wasn't sure of myself at the time. So I decided to go for the performance because I knew I had the talent in the performance side. And I liked it. I liked performing. So
yeah, excellent.
Well,
that's the other thing, you know. I mean, I think that's something important too, is that a lot of people who are artists, they find themselves like the world kind of asks you to do one thing and do it the best that you can, and that's like often how society will try to pigeonhole you, you know, where it's like, oh well, you're a lawyer, that's all you are, and you can only do that. Whereas in reality, I would say that we all have many talents, and some people have a lot of strength in those many talents. So when they're that multifaceted, they have to split up their time to do all these different things.
Yeah.
And it does make it more difficult to become the best at any one of them, because
Or a jack of all
you only have
trades.
so much time on this earth to do whatever it is that you want to do. So once you split up all those, time slices, it becomes difficult. And I feel like maybe you and I resonate there, where we both enjoy and work in voice acting. We both like actually physical, more traditional acting, where it's body and everything. Not to mention singing. Not to mention just the idea of putting projects together. I also happen to know. So Adam has been writing a TV show pilot. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, if you don't mind?
Yes.
Me on this.
Recently I was leader of a neighborhood group in my church that was dedicated to creating like short films and stuff, like just creating stuff. And as part of that, our group as a whole wrote from scratch and practiced, rehearsed, and shot and finished a short film that was it was a comedy short that was based on the parable of the sower, but it was in the form of a couples therapy session. So the different soil was different couples, and I played the therapist.
Awesome.
So from that, I thought of a different parable that I could turn into, because I love sitcoms. I love TV sitcoms. I grew up with them.
Oh yeah.
Like from Married with Children to Home Improvement to,
of course.
Just really great family sitcoms. And of course the daddy of them all, Full House.
And don't forget Three's Company. Shout outs to John Ritter. I still miss John Ritter so much.
I haven't seen Three's Company.
That's okay. You should check it out sometime, because
I've heard of it. I know of it.
Well, John Ritter was just absolutely wonderful back in the day, and I mean, just to catch one episode, you would love it. Him as Jack Tripper, literally he did as many pratfalls as you could possibly imagine with it, and still to this day. And I'll just quickly say this because I feel like I have to say it, is one of my favorite kind of off the wall comedies is actually a John Carpenter comedy, and it is called oh god, the name is escaping me right now too. Darn it, but John Ritter has this great line in it. I have to try to remember what it is. Skin Deep, I think it's what it's called. Skin Deep, and he he comes in the door and he's like, "There is a God, and he's a gag writer," and then a tidal wave hits him. And it just, I was like, this line and this situation, it's the funniest line, and you can find on the internet just the clip alone. There is a God, and he's a gag writer. It's good. It's and it's John Carpenter too, right? So this is Live, this is The Thing, this is Halloween guy. So you'd think, what? Why did he wrote a comedy? And I'm like,
I really think, comedy and horror go hand in hand. Actually,
I actually agree.
It's all about the twist, the timing. It's all about the twist, the sudden something different happens.
Yep.
So.
And the idea of taking something seriously, at least from the characters' points of views, whereas it's possible that the audience, if they really stepped back, they'd be like, now how does this even make any sense? Come on now,
Exactly, and that's what makes them laugh.
Yeah, the suspension of disbelief, which is one of my favorite terms. I always, use that when I'm talking to people in writing groups and whatnot. And I find it interesting sometimes that people don't even know when I say, oh yeah, SOD, this, and they're like, what do you mean? Well, suspension of disbelief. They're like, what's that? And I'm like, really? You don't know what I mean by that? Come on.
But yeah, I don't have anything zany in my show. But so I decided to look at the prodigal son, the parable of the prodigal son, returning home. And I thought, what would happen if someone had moved to LA to try to make it as an actor? Then I can use some personal experience in it, and moved back home to uh, Poughkeepsie or wherever,
Some small town.
small town that
Right.
they're from, and uh, what would go into that. And so then I thought, I've always wanted to see. There's so many family sitcoms that focus on the father of the family, and it's all about the dad. But I want to see what happens when it's the kid, and it's 2020, or it's the late 2000s. Why not, or later in the 2000s? Why not have it be helmed by a girl? Let's have a girl-led sitcom. So it's became The Prodigal Daughter, and for the title, I thought of Prodigal Child. So it's a little pun with problem child, but prodigal son mixed together, and it's Prodigal Child. Oh, you're muted.
Oops, I just realized that I had muted myself because there was some noise outside.
Just now. Oh, yeah. But yeah, so Prodigal Child, and I've put together a rough pilot. I had a table read. People gave me feedback, and I tweaked it until I've got what I've got now.
That's awesome, and that's the thing is, I'm looking forward to hearing more about it, and that's the thing. I've enjoyed collaborating with you. Again, some things that the viewers won't necessarily know is, of course, I would bounce ideas off of Adam often regarding the characters that I have him influencing, I should say, in Diamond Dragons, or voicing, or just sometimes things in general. And it's been nice to at least get his input, and I kind of always have been that way about developing Diamond Dragons, not only the screenplay but the book, to be able to try to ask my different artists, whether they're involved in the project or not, to get that input and make sure that either I'm on the right track, or sometimes they give me a good idea, or it's just kind of one of those things that I feel that all art is a collaborative process.
Yes.
And it makes sense that it is, because art in a bubble isn't really art at all. Then it's just kind of personal projects. But when you have something like a book or a film, and it's meant to reach ostensibly thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands of people, then you want to try to make sure that it appeals, not in a way that like to placate them, but in a way that you're like, I want to make sure people understand this and they resonate, and what makes this character stronger. Can I add this thing? Can I do this thing? What about this? And should I go this direction, or is that deleterious to the character or the plot? And so it's really helpful.
And I mean, even if you lock yourself in a cave and come out with a finished work, that work is still a collaboration, because you've been influenced before you walk into that cave by outside forces. We're all built from something. We all, none of us come from nowhere.
I'm really glad you said that too. I absolutely agree. And it's funny you mentioned, since just recently I was having a lot of different discussions where, so for example, a lot of people will try to say, oh, I'm a self-made man, or I did this all by myself, and nobody, right. And I was trying to convey this thought process, because although you and I probably agree that we are all, like you just said, that we're a conglomeration and a mixture of many things and many influences in our life, some people just don't believe that. They're in this mindset where they're like, oh yeah, well, I worked everything in my business and I did this all myself and nobody helped me. And I would say that even if they think that that's the case, and let's say even technically maybe they did feel quite alone and maybe people didn't help them, I'd be like, what about you growing up as a child? And what about your environment? And what about your instructors? And what about the education that you did or did not get, depending on what that education is, and if it came from the street or books or whatever, all those things are influences. And so it's so interesting to see people maybe discredit that, when the very way in which their success may have been born was from a collaborative experience. And for them to then say, oh, I'm a self-made person, is kind of funny, because it's counterintuitive to how that process will actually continue to develop, because then
Yeah.
it means they might look at someone and say, don't ask me for help, I did everything on myself, you go do your own thing. And the irony is then that it cuts off the line and shuts the door on the very process that they gained their success from.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Very interesting. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I have only a few more questions, and then we must close. But what do you think in your opinion, is your worst actors or artists' habit? What's your worst habit?
My worst habit is thinking I'm not good enough. And I think a lot of actors and performers have this flaw.
Imposter syndrome, as they.
Imposter syndrome, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And how would you say that that's affected you? Have you been able to sort of cordon it off, or do you feel that sometimes it's pretty crippling or whatnot?
I've got it mostly under control. Yeah, I mean, the doubts creep in, and it's like, oh, you didn't get this because such and such, such and such, and then I just remind myself, no, it's a big business. There's tons of reasons why I didn't book X, Y, or Z, and 99% of those reasons have nothing to do with talent.
Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that too, because way back in the day, and this is, I'm no big shot with acting or anything, but I taught a few little acting workshops to, I want to say it was middle schoolers. It might have been also for some adults at one point, and I just don't remember because it was like 20 years ago, something like that. But anyways, I remember quoting from some auditors, and just for the audience out there, I don't mean auditors like taxes. I mean people who their profession is literally auditioning people and then deciding whether they move forward or not. Um, uh, that can also be listed as casting agents. But my point is, these casting agents or auditors had a lot to say about things where they basically, it all boiled down to this. They said, you will almost never know why or why not you were cast for something.
Yep.
And sometimes they said, for example, what if you auditioned, you smashed it, you were wonderful, you were organized, you were everything, but it just so happened that the person who was to play opposite you was 6'2" and you were 5'4", and they realized that they're like, this, like, let's think about them on stage, or let's think about they're like, this isn't going to work. I mean, I love both of these people, but we can't have them both. They're not going to work together. It won't look right. And that may sound very what's the word, shallow. But we all know that sometimes that's how it goes in Hollywood. You could be too thin for a part. You could have the wrong eye color for a part. Your voice type could be too deep or too high up or something. It could be anything that you just don't know. And it could even be other factors that, again, like Adam has just said, is nothing to do with you. It might have even been timing where, someone popped in and they said, this guy really needs it, and this is going to be this and that and the other, and we're going to do these things with him. So I'm glad you brought that up.
And there's, I wouldn't say like full on nepotism, but there's a lot of people. It's not from a perspective of, this is my nephew, so I'm going to cast them. It's, right, I know this person and I know they can do the job. And that's it. It's a trust thing.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that too, because like, think about it. You and I are good friends, but in addition to that, we also know maybe our strengths and weaknesses and our limits. But the point is, I would think about you first in casting X and Y and Z, maybe before even auditioning people for something, because I know you. And again, it's not just, oh, I know this guy and who cares if he's an actor or not. No, that's not the case.
But it's like, you've seen my work, you know that I can do a good job.
Precisely.
That's why they say it's who you know.
Precisely.
It's you really need to work on relationships and trust, and proving that you can do good work.
Absolutely. And then, so do you think then is your best actor's habit that you have, your best discipline?
Something different than what we've been talking about: perseverance. Sticking to it, keep going, even when, because again, with the way Hollywood is set up, even in the voiceover world, which is 10 times more who you know-ish than Hollywood is. If you're talented, if you have the talent and you stick to it and you maintain that talent, you know, take classes, and you keep going, you keep putting yourself out there, eventually that talent is going to be recognized.
Good point. I like it. I like it. What is the worst advice you think that you've been given, well, other than being on this show?
Oh, come on. Worst advice. Wow. To give up. Well, I wouldn't say like give up, but like manage expectations, I guess would be the thing. Is, oh, you're not going to make it, so why bother? Sort of thing. And it comes out of love from people who don't understand. You know, like most of the time that I heard that was from my family members of, please come home. You can do it as a hobby.
Oh my goodness, that's great.
But it's like they love me and they want me there, and I understand that, but it's like, no,
exactly.
that's
So then, Adam, what's then the best advice that you would offer? Not necessarily the best advice you've been offered, but that you would offer to artists or actors or folks out there.
Let's see. Definitely hone your craft and stick to it and keep making stuff.
Amen. Discipline and consistency. That's two of my favorite words, and I have heard many a professional mention them, so I don't feel alone in the fact that when I offer it, that some people say, well, yeah, you say that, but whatever. I'm like, yeah, but all the professionals who are top in success, they also say it.
And I mean, you know, this is it's an unprecedented time in which, you know, before we didn't have as, like now we have so many opportunities to make our own stuff. You have, we all have cameras in our pocket. You know, we can, you don't have to be limited to, oh, you don't have to be cast in something to have work out there. You can make your own work and show what you can do.
Absolutely, I agree, and I mean that's actually the point of doing all this different content. Like, you know, independent of me thinking about auditioning or working with agents and whatnot, I still release all my own singing on my own channel. Again, people can find that in my links if they wish. Obviously, I'm working on Diamond Dragons, obviously, and then there's my past channel of doing all the live lightsaber performance work and whatnot. So. Yeah, I agree with that you need to put your content out there in order to even almost say that you're an artist, because it's like if you don't do the work, how's everybody going to recognize that you are capable? You might think you're capable, but it's like, yeah, but have you done any of it? You should probably do that just to make sure. And then if people ask for verification, you could be like, there's literally 600 plus videos on this channel. So in case you don't think I'm capable, I think we've ironed out that wrinkle quite a bit at this point. So, you know, like, don't make it harder than it is. If someone says, oh yeah, well, you've never done anything, I'm like, there's 600 videos on this particular channel that says otherwise. Sorry, you know. Yeah. So Adam, it's been a super pleasure, and like I said, it's always great to chat with you. So my final question is, who's the next diamond in the rough, do you think? Who's going to come on the show, and who would benefit from speaking with my crazy artist being?
I think you'd get a kick out of Alan Murray.
Okay.
He's had a career as a audience warm-up.
Excellent. Well, then that's great. We'll look forward to seeing him and whatnot. And thanks for being here, Adam. It's been a great pleasure. And again, I'm Matthew of Diamond Dragons, developing the book and the screenplay. If you'd like to learn more about that, there will be links in the description, as well as links to Adam's work. So take care, and we'll see you guys next time on
Thanks
Diamond
for watching.
Discussions.
Would you like to be a guest on the show, or do you know a diamond in the rough who should? Contact us, DiamondDragonsTale@gmail.com. Until then, Chiong, Chifoy, Vas Res, and Iyayalaha.